About a year ago, we took this car to the track for the very first time. And on its very first complete pass, it went a 9.33 at 147. While we've gone faster than that since then, we still have not gone quicker. And today we are going to go over everything that we've had to change on this car in order to finally beat that time. If you guys are new to the channel, this is my dad's 2010 Camaro SS. We picked up this car about a year and a half ago, and the first thing that we did was we removed the LS3 engine. And we installed our staple for the channel, a Vortec 4200 from a Trailblazer. Now, since then, we have made 1,000 wheel horsepower and took the car on a drag and drive, but we've had sort of middling success at the drag strip, and lately it's been very difficult to get traction with the car. And we've been looking for different solutions. We've pretty well narrowed down the problem to this region of the car. No, not the bumper, not the taillights, but down underneath the car. This car still has the stock style independent rear suspension. And while the previous owner dumped a ton of money into the rear end of this car, doing a drive shaft shop 9-inch conversion kit and putting the entire BMR catalog underneath this thing, it just isn't working. And while we knew the car was in dire need of a new set of tires, we weren't convinced that that was the only problem that we faced. When you're running a drag radial on a car like this, it requires that the suspension react in a particular way in order to get traction. And if you follow some of the faster radial guys, you'll see that those cars separate pretty wildly as they go down the track. If you look at like Brett LaSala's Mustang or Jonathan Atkins' Camaro, those cars have tons of rear end separation, and this car was doing the exact opposite. It was squatting in the rear. Now, I'm not going to get too crazy into rear suspension setup and like anti-squat, instant center, and all that kind of stuff. But in general, if the car is squatting, it is unloading the tire and therefore trying to induce tire spin. And on like a big tire car or maybe like a car with a manual transmission and a set of slick tires, you may actually be trying to do that. However, with a drag radial car, you don't want to do that. That is a sure way to not get you where you want to go. And therefore, it was time to look at this rear suspension and see if there was anything we could do to change the instant center. Now, the thought of just converting this car to a 4-link or a torque arm had crossed our minds 100 times. And they offer kits that would literally bolt in and work for if we wanted to do that. Both Mosier and the guys over at Skyview Race Car offer some really nice kits, but the problem is they have a really nice price as well. So we decided we're going to give it one last shot with the independent rear suspension and see if we can get this thing to work. My first thought was, has anybody ever gone fast with an independent rear Camaro? And that led me to a video by Big Clyde 34 from many years ago of the fastest independent rear 5th gen Camaro. Now, this guy, he's going pretty dang fast, and he's running a drag radial just like us. So this led me down the path of how is he doing it? And I found a photo from a forum long ago, and I noticed something in the background that I don't know if I was intended to see. So let's get under the car and find out what we did to duplicate this hidden gem. So I happened to find a photo that I'm not sure if I was meant to see. And that was a photo of a car that was being advertised by BMR that had a little modification on this suspension link right here. And it was clear that they were trying to adjust the instant center by raising this suspension point. Now, as you can see, we've already modified this, and I'll put up a picture of what it looked like from the factory. The factory location for this suspension arm mount is right here. Now, traditionally on a 4-link setup, you would have a set of holes here on the rear end housing, and you would have a set of holes up here on the chassis side. And that would allow you to play with all kinds of different bar angles and really dial in the angle of your lower 4-link bar. Now, what we're going to have to be careful of with this is we may get so aggressive with the suspension that we have issues with running into the extent of our shock travel. That is bad news. You don't want to top out your shock and unload the suspension. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but we have compression and rebound dampening adjustments that we can make with this shock. So hopefully we can dial this thing in. I don't think it's going to be incredibly aggressive in this location, but if it is, we can always bump it down a hole and try to tune it in that way. Until we go to the track, we're not going to know, and therefore it is a good idea to leave ourselves some room for adjustment. And while we were in the process of changing everything, we figured, why not change some more? As you guys may have saw on the 1000 horsepower dyno video, we were running into some pretty serious exhaust back pressure issues. And that was because the turbine side of our turbo was too small. Therefore, we decided to upgrade to a turbo that has been sitting in my basement for a little while. A VS Racing S488. It features an 88mm compressor and an 88mm turbine. Because of this, it was going to be a little more challenging to get this thing to spool, so we also installed a dump valve into the transmission, which required some mods to the pump on the Turbo 400, and let's get into that next. Alright guys, we got the transmission all tore out of the Camaro, and I wanted to show you what mods we were making to the pump. So basically what we are doing is called the split circuit mod, and it involves 4 modifications. 1, you need to grind a little slot from this passageway to this passageway. 2, you need to drill a 1/16 inch hole in this little part right here. It's called the hump, and basically it connects this passageway to this passageway here. Then we take this passageway and we tap it, and then we plug it. And then this isn't really part of the split circuit mod, but it's generally recommended. You tap this passage and then you install a set screw with an 1/8 inch hole in it. This is the what is commonly referred to as the converter feed restrictor, and this helps to keep your thrust bearing alive in your engine. One of the reasons that this thing is also apart is our pump in the transmission was not really behaving 100% perfect. When you got the RPMs up, the pressure would be there, but at lower RPM, the pressure would get kind of low. So I kind of want to show you what I'm seeing here and why I think that one's not doing its job. So if we look at our new pump that we're about to put in, if I wiggle this thing, it feels pretty tight. And if we go over to the pump that we just took out, you can see it's quite a bit looser. So I'm thinking that is probably our pressure issue. We are going to reuse the back face of the pump here that was originally in the car. That way our end play doesn't get screwed up. And also we have a adjustable pressure regulator here that has been installed. So we should be able to keep all that. But I'm going to start throwing this thing back together, and hopefully we can get it back up in the car and get this thing to spool a little quicker. All right, we're about to raise the transmission back up in the car, and with those pump modifications, we now block off our top cooler port. In fact, these 2 ports are now common. So we could actually put this pressure sensor up in this top port if we wanted to. I'm not going to do that. But now our cooler return is here on the governor plate, and we have added a small restrictor inside of this fitting, and that restrictor can get modified if we need to tune the converter charge pressure, another effort to try and keep the thrust bearing alive in the engine. So let's get this thing tossed back up in and see what we got. So now that we changed quite a few aspects of the car, it was time to take this thing to the track. And we decided to take it to the American Muscle Show over at Maple Grove Raceway. They actually had a dyno session to start the day off. This was a great opportunity to start to dial in the new turbo that we just installed. If you guys don't know, anytime you change your turbo, you're most likely going to have to go back and relearn what your boost control settings will do. For our first pull, we set it to 50% duty cycle, and it made around 15 pounds of boost. It made right around 600 wheel horsepower, but then we decided to just pin the boost controller at 100%. And it made 857 horsepower with 29 pounds of boost. So the new turbo is probably around 40 to 50 wheel horsepower greater than the old one. That should give you guys some info there on how restricted the old turbo was. Now this event is a sea of V8 muscle cars, and it is more intended to be a car show, so it's not like they have, you know, super big dogs showing up. But it was kind of cool that our little 254 cubic inch inline six happened to make the most horsepower of the day. After that, we rolled into the track session. We only had the opportunity to make one pass for the day, so we had to make it count. We decided to run it at 100% duty cycle and 29 pounds of boost, obviously. And let's just say I was happy with the results.
15. People saw the dyno first thing this morning. We saw the Camaro up on there. What did we make? Like 800 and some, I believe?
Last car, 857, I think.
Yeah. She's getting it. Calm down. Wow, 885.
154.
Yo, make some noise for that, people. Let's go.
As you could see, I was pretty excited. Finally, we have ourselves a fast street car, and if we plug in the mile per hour and the vehicle weight into the Wallace Racing calculator, this thing's making some steam. Overall, we had a fantastic time at the American Muscle Car Show at Maple Grove Raceway. Another cool tidbit was the Camaro was also the fastest car for the day on the drag strip as well. Well, that is excluding the jet cars. We'll just say the fastest piston-powered car for the day. So it was really neat to go to this event with a sea of V8 muscle cars. A lot of people thought it was a 2JZ. There was a couple guys who thought it was a Barra. And it was cool to show you that this American inline six in this American muscle car might have been what GM should have built. So I'm proud to say that the All American Supra is finally doing what we set out to do. And the next time that you see it, it's gonna be even faster. So with that, I'm gonna end this video off here. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.